Alrighty then, Manchester United against Arsenal. We should have been going into this game thinking we can close the gap and we can get it down to just 3 points, which is a little bit crazy that we can be talking about being 3 points away from the league leaders at this stage of the season with where we've come from. But it is crazy because now we're actually looking at being as great as 11 points. Proper took the jam out of my donut, that did. Let's look at the positives, because I think there's a bit of an element of United fans being a bit all doom and gloom, and definitely an element of Arsenal fans being a little bit feeling themselves a little bit this week. And I know there's only us that has beat them, but I think they've rode their luck just a little bit. I don't think they're as good as they think they are at the moment. So they are flying high. They are top of the league. They're also unbeaten at home. So there's a lot of things that are going positive for them. United being the only team that has beat them at all this season. United have lost just once in the last 20 games with 16 wins, 3 draws and 1 loss. Ten Hag's first win against Liverpool in his 3rd game, and only Arsenal have picked up more points than us in the league since then. Arsenal's 47 points from 18 Premier League games this season is the most that they've won at this stage of the campaign in their entire league history. So they're setting a pace. Only 4 different occasions a Premier League side collected more points than that in the first 18 league games of the season. So you got to give them credit. They've started incredibly well, and they've lasted longer than the traditional sort of early pace setters do before they fall off. And they might not fall off. I think they probably still will, but they might not. So how do they play? What are they all about? And what's Mikel Arteta been doing? So he's been pretty flexible with his formation choices. This season, he seems to focus on 2 in particular. There's a 4-2-3-1 and a 4-1-4-1 formation. The reason for focusing on those 2 formations is that the team can transition quite well between the 2. Different attacking shapes that allow Arsenal to adhere to the philosophy that Arteta likes in possession and then also out of possession. And it allows the team to be a little bit more adaptable to whatever the opposition is doing as well, which is always a positive thing. I don't necessarily like this is how we play at all costs. I do think you have to adapt to the opposition slightly every single time. When they attack, it's a 2-3-5 formation. That 2-3 structure, the inverted fullbacks either side of Partey in the build-up becomes the 3-5 structure as they progress into the final third. Xhaka and Odegaard then have enough cover to be able to bomb on into the final third and overload centrally when they're attacking, and almost like 2 advanced 8s or a pair of 10s. The 3-man midfield allows Arsenal to control space really well centrally, and then the 5-man attacking line overloads the back line and the other team's defence as they attack into the penalty area. Defensively, the structure with the attack provides some good defensive benefits. It's strong centrally, which is what you always have to be. And it allows Arsenal to have 5 players ready for the opponent's counter-attack. They can force it wide. They can stop it at source. They can throw a tactical foul in if they need to. And it keeps them further away from goal. Without the ball, Xhaka is often the one that drops deeper than Odegaard to form a bit of a double pivot alongside Partey as Arsenal defend in that 4-2-3-1 shape. He'll cover the space inside behind the left back. He'll pick his moments to jump out of possession as well and press the ball carrier, and that helps Arsenal shift between even a 4-3-3 and a 4-4-2 or even a 4-2-3-1 when out of possession. As their attack approach consists of holding possession as high up the pitch as possible, the first response to losing possession is to stop a quick turnover, delay. It's the fundamental thing of all defensive transitions. Delay or counter press. And if that press is beaten, then they fall back into their defensive shape and try and transition as fast as possible, depending on the area of the pitch that the ball was lost. Arsenal dominated possession in most of the Premier League matches this season, and as a result, they have started to control games. They dominate territory by pressing high, and they lock opponents into their half for long periods, and they are conceding fewer chances than they have before as well. Predicted 11, I think it'd be Ramsdale, White, Saliba, Gabriel, and Zinchenko. Midfield of Partey, Xhaka, Saka, Odegaard, with Martinelli and Nketiah. Starman, I think at the moment is very worth looking at, and that is Martin Odegaard. He's always been a skillful midfield operator, and this season he's really ramped up the product, and he's playing at a very, very high level at the moment. 13 goals and 8 assists. He's already surpassed last season's tallies for both goals and assists. in all competitions. He has become Arsenal's do-it-all in midfield, and he not only does he average 2.6 shots per 90 from open play, which is the second most on their team, 1.8 chances created from open play, which is the third most on their team. It also puts him in the 94th percentile across the league in those two categories combined. So that is a very, very top-draw player. Leads Arsenal's players for possession in the final third as well. Possession won in the final third. So he also presses and wins the ball back too. He's quite underrated defensively, I think. Now then, this video is brought to you by our partners at Surfshark. Surfshark is a VPN, or a virtual private network that keeps your online identity safe by encrypting all information sent between your device and the internet. This keeps your personal data protected from big companies and cybercriminals. Also, it can swap the real location of your device with a new one, like changing your IP address. This way you can virtually travel to any country across the globe. With Surfshark, you can encrypt your online data and secure your personal information when you use free public Wi-Fi, which is a goldmine for hackers. Mask your IP address and become private online. Surfshark makes sure that your city, country, and download history are not linked to your identity, and it doesn't monitor, track, or store what you do online. That means no connection or activity logs. Changing your virtual location to access content not available in your region is absolutely awesome. Like, you can use location change asset, which means stuff like, let's say I wanted to get on BBC iPlayer while I was in Qatar at the World Cup. Bosh, there we go. And I literally use this. This isn't me just saying it because they're sponsoring this video. I literally use this all the time while I was in Qatar trying to access stuff that he wasn't able to access in Qatar. And it works seamlessly, both on my laptop and on my phone. And with Surfshark's VPN, you can use one account on unlimited devices, whether it's phones or laptops, etc. Now, I've got an exclusive offer. Use the code Howson. You get 83% off plus an extra 3 months for free. That's a 30-day money-back guarantee. There's no risk to try it whatsoever. Check it out. Code Howson. Follow the link in the description. Code Howson, and enjoy this exclusive offer. Manchester United 11. Without Casemiro, I don't like this. I really don't. I've just replaced him with Fred in the side that we saw against Crystal Palace, and I think people probably want more changes than that. I could see some people asking for Garnacho because of how direct he is, and I think Anthony's probably been a little bit poor, but I think Ten Hag perseveres with him. So I think it'll be De Gea in net. I think Wan-Bissaka and Wan-Bissaka against Martinelli could be really interesting. Varane and Martinez at centre-half with Luke Shaw left-back. The two in midfield, that pivot, Eriksen and Fred. We're looking to find Eriksen in possession, and we're looking for Fred to do all the running about when we haven't got it. With Bruno, who I'm going to ask to play a little bit deeper than he usually does centrally. I did debate putting him on the right-hand side and maybe throwing McTominay in and putting Fred where he was and where he was very effective against Manchester City. And I actually still think that's a very viable option, but I think he's going to play with Anthony because he probably wants that pace. And even though it's been successful having Bruno on the right-hand side and allowing Bruno to tuck in and form a bit of a four sort of stranglehold around a midfield three, which has proved quite effective, I think he's individually played poor while he's played there as well. So I think even though there is an effect of having him there, I think he's not quite done it. So Bruno centrally, Anthony on the right, Marcus on the left, and we start with Weghorst and see if we can pen him back with a little bit of a press. I thought he was relatively impressive against Crystal Palace. Certainly no man of the match, but I thought I liked what I saw, and I'd like to see some more. And I think he could be very useful against Arsenal. So who's the match winner for United in that? It is Marcus Rashford. He was poor against Crystal Palace. Maybe trying too hard to keep that run going. Well, that's been cleansed. That's off the shelf now. Let's start another one, and let's start another winning run by beating Arsenal at the Emirates. He is the #1 threat for goals that Manchester United have got. And an opposition that's going to dominate possession, as we saw against Manchester City at home, he finds himself in acres, and it's not fair when you're trying to run against him 1v1. He should have the beating of either Ben White or Zinchenko, whichever one he decides to line up against. Like I said, he was poor against Crystal Palace, still be vital against Arsenal. It'd be a completely different game and a completely different way of playing for him against both of those two opposition. And he's got the ability to unlock them, especially on the counter. And his presence demands respect, and that might limit Arsenal, and they might tweak a little bit too much to compensate for him, and that might leave some gaps later on somewhere for somebody else as well. He might even make Arteta make a mistake and go less adventurous with his defence, which might then have an impact on their domination in midfield. And then who knows? Every single decision is going to have a consequence. And sometimes they can be good and sometimes they can be bad. And I can't wait to find out which way it's going to crumble. So how do we beat them? So the right-hand side. Zinchenko inverts heavy on possession and he lacks pace. And that can be exposed defensively. And that's why I went with Anthony over Bruno. Because that's a way that you can get down them. Down the right on the counter will be one of the key places we can get some joy. Anthony needs to pull his socks up, though, and actually start delivering on some goals and assists. Against Zinchenko, he can do that. I absolutely believe that. We got a lot of joy down that side in the first game. Martinelli doesn't track back as diligently as Saka does, so there is always an opportunity down that side. I think it's the weakest link of their team. I think that's the place that Manchester United can exploit. You got to clog it up between the lines. And that's what Casemiro would have been excellent at doing. Casemiro his ability to read the game and his calmness in those areas when it can be a little bit frantic is going to be missed. And Fred, he brings more frantic, doesn't he? Only City and Liverpool have more touches in the opposition penalty area than Arsenal, which tells you how much of a threat they're going to be. They love a central overload. They love to clog that area. It's a major area to look out. And like I said, it's a major reason why it's going to be a problem not having Casemiro in the team. Fullbacks. Martinelli and Saka really hold their width really well. And they're both hard to defend against because they're not just capable 1v1. They can get in behind as well. So you can play a through ball or you can play it to feet. And they're happy to go either way. Arsenal, when they're comfortable in possession, will overload you across the entire final third. And our wingers need to be disciplined, double up, and help out the fullbacks. Because if you don't, you could be in trouble. You got to weather the storm. Arsenal like to start fast, and it's been a theme for Arsenal all season. They've scored the joint most goals in the opening 30 minutes of Premier League matches this season with 12 alongside Brighton, weirdly. And have conceded just once in the opening half hour of games level with Newcastle. They've also scored a league-high 12 goals in the 15 minutes after half-time. So there's probably something in the weird little, fucking whiteboard things that Arteta does. So, we're in for a game. Make no mistake. We are in for a game. And it'll be tight. But I believe United can do it. Do you? Let me know in the comments. First goal scorer, final score. And do you think there's anything wrong in the start 11? What would you do different? I want to know. See you in the next one. Laters. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.